Hey, hello, goated. Okay, there we go. Cool. I think I'm starting to get the hang of this.
Hey everyone.
Hey, Huddy. How's it going?
Yeah, good news today.
Yes. Yeah, good. Yep. Yep. It's nice and hot in the UK, which is good for a change.
Always good.
Yes. Yeah. But no doubt there'll be people complaining about it because it's either too hot or too cold or too much rain or as are the British people. But yeah, it's nice. It's been a nice week.
Hey, good kitty.
Hey, good kitty. How you doing? Let me just. There we go. Just invite you to speak. Jeez. Surely we've got more people coming on the way. Cool. Okay. Good kitty. Would you like to sort of start things off?
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. How's it? How you doing?
Yeah, good. Good. Whereabouts are you, by the way?
Cape Town, South Africa.
Ah, okay. So pretty much the same time as me then, because I'm uh well, I'm UK time.
Okay, yeah, so we're similar. It's 7 o'clock here now.
Ah,
What is it
okay.
there?
You're an hour ahead. Yeah, it's 6 o'clock here in the UK.
Mm,
Yeah, British
mm.
summertime.
Yeah,
Um,
we spend a lot
so-
of time there. I've got family there, and my husband travels there a lot, so I love it.
yes, yeah.
I used to live there.
I've not been down to South Africa yet, but my brother has travelled there with his partner and friends a couple of times, and he absolutely loves it.
Mm.
Um,
It's nice.
and
I stay quite close to the southern tip, so it's like way out, well, not so way, like an hour or so out of Cape Town. And it's very sort of coastal and mountains, and it's quite nice. It's like being on holiday all the time.
yeah, is that kind of where the sort of the wine country is? Because that's where my brother tends to go. He tends to go on these wine tours and things.
Yeah, we're about it's quite weird. In Cape Town, you can kind of go within an hour. You can either be in the mountains or in like a little dorpy, or you can be in the winelands. So the winelands are about an hour and a bit away from me. Franschhoek, Stellenbosch, Paarl, all that kind of area. My husband was born out that way. It's beautiful there as well. very green and lush. So yeah, it's a good
Awesome.
place to go. Little wine routes around Cape Town aren't too bad on a weekend.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, cool. Well, yeah, you feel free to go ahead and discuss, so, or sort of initiate the discussion of what you were proposing earlier, which I think is fantastic.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for sort of responding so warmly to the idea. I really appreciate it. I kind of, I mean, I've mentioned it a couple of times before, purely because um, I feel like, and I said it to Hero after the first cohort, we kind of had built up this incredible community of people who were so excited about it. And then kind of died down between the two cohorts. And I see there's, a lot of different stewards, there's a lot of different community members in it, but it kind of felt to me like it didn't sustain too much from the first one to the second one, even though the second one's better, to be honest with you. So I kind of felt both within the DeGrants, we kind of need somebody to hold it together, be the thread that binds it all. And I also feel like, during the cohorts, we need somebody who is going to maintain the kind of, whatever we build up, the momentum that we build up during the previous cohorts. I think that's the way to kind of grow it from strength to strength, rather than having to start all over again each time we do it, And my kind of, I've been involved with it from day one. I've loved every single minute of it. I love working in a community, and I love watching this thing grow out. And yeah, so I just thought that I feel in a way that we're building this marketing department, but I still feel maybe it's a bit fragmented, and maybe the communication between the cohorts, specifically if it grows. And I mean, that's what we really are preparing for with everything we do now, is for when things grow. So I thought it might be a good idea to kind of start putting something in place now, because everything we're doing, we're just building. We kind of going, well, what do we need, or how's this going to work? And it maybe has to pivot or whatever. So I just thought it might be a good idea to have somebody who brought it all together, who looked at it holistically, kind of saw what each track needed, and helped motivate that, just to keep all the tracks on some sort of even keel in terms of what they were doing, kind of make sure, maybe they are, growing the stewards, where we see we need more stewards, building up community where we need more community coming in. So I kind of put that document together that I sent you. Shall I carry on? I feel like I'm talking too much.
Yeah, no, continue. Yeah.
Yeah. So I kind of thought, general community engagement, some content creation across the various platforms, just making sure people were informed, like, this is what happened, this is how successful cohort 2 was, this is the people who, say, for example, writing articles about the winners, or about the stewards, or about the tracks, so that there's like regular, maybe newsletter going out or something, just to keep everybody informed constantly. Maybe even putting somebody in place and kind of feeding them the information to do YouTube's things, if that's their vibe. So also just finding kind of ambassadors out there who also want to, not particularly maybe who are part of the program, and who may come and go, but people who might want to kind of get involved, say, hey, I make good YouTube videos. We get people who say that, and then we haven't really got anything to do with them. So, then you could say to them, okay, great. Do you want to make a few trial videos, see how it works, doesn't, it doesn't. So kind of just being abreast of all that sort of stuff. possibly looking at kind of events, just a more sort of communal events, maybe growing that sort of weekly space that we all have, so everyone can come together and we get a really nice big community there. Looking at the tooling from Zero Authority and how we can really use that to our advantage with DeGrants, kind of work inside that. I'm really interested in that. Obviously, just looking at coordinating the marketing and branding teams, what their requirements are and that sort of stuff. And then just, like I said, coordinating steward activity and growth. And then just looking at each of the tracks and sort of say, for example, and I just put some examples down here, but this would be, decided upon with each of the stewards within the track. But making sure that there's consistent, maybe hackathons going on, or challenges to promote development. So we kind of go, what do we need developed? Maybe creating a database of those ideas somewhere, so that if builders do come in and they say, hey, I'm a builder, I'm interested in doing something on Stacks, we say, hey, here's a database of ideas. This is what we need on Stacks. And is there anything maybe you can all cross collaborate? Because I know with the project I'm working on at the moment, it was very easy for me to hook up a crew of people from all sorts of the ecosystem that then have come together to build a product. So I kind of love doing that sort of thing as well. So that, and then I thought in DeFi, just sort of getting the groups together regularly. I know that's kind of probably done a little bit already, but I think just really following that up and involving the DeFi communities in, what do they need for us to build, or, their community stuff like that, Twitter threads, etc., whatever it is about that. So kind of I just went on in this proposal, just talking about all the kind of things that I would love to do across builders and developers, DeFi, community and governance, BNS, and NFTs, and then AI and other tracks, or the booster. But yeah, even with BNS, as I've sort of made some notes here to sort of promote and use the benefits of BNS within the community through targeted campaigns. So sitting with the stewards and really exploring what kind of campaigns would appeal to people and how to draw people in and generate interest. Looking at maybe online workshops, creating content to educate the community about BNS. Again, looking at ambassadors and saying, hey, this person's good at doing YouTube, this person could do a podcast, this person could do an interview, I could write newsletters, stuff like that. And then just making sure that we've got enough resources for members that are interested in it. And like I said, continuously really putting together, I think one of the most important things as well, besides building the community out, maintaining the community, is keeping this pot of ideas boiling, so that we actually know what we need at all times, so that as people are entering the ecosystem, we've got this hat from which they can draw. So I don't know, I feel like I've been rambling for a long time, but those are kind of my thoughts. It does go on and on a bit. I also looked at just engagement strategies, quests and challenges. There's obviously, we were just talking earlier about Lunar Crush, but there are other ways to do it, just treasure hunts on Twitter, whitelist spots for NFTs. So there are cheaper ways to do it if we don't want to use Lunar Crush, but people love little quests and challenges. And this is all just about building information. So inside those quests and challenges, we could be teaching people about things, so it's like, if people do a whole lot of things, they get a BNS, or, they go on a little treasure hunt or something like that. NFT drops and giveaways, I could be very helpful in getting artists involved to create content in that regard. Looking at really inspiring collaboration between all the tracks, how we can collaborate, maybe looking at storytelling NFTs that tell the story of stacks, and people can collect those. Um, you know, educational campaigns, I've said, social media engagement, tweetathons, meme-a-thons, art contests, things like that. Game nights and leaderboards and achievement badges, things like that. So, and then tracking the metrics, promoting it constantly and engaging regularly. So basically just really to kind of motivate this whole thing, keep it going, inject energy to it, bring everyone together, etc.
Yeah, it sounds great. I mean, it's obviously as I mentioned in the in our sort of DM group, it's an amazing proposal, and it's absolutely needed for sure. I think Stacks needs more more proactive individuals within the community that are willing to put their time and energy into helping to build that community and foster that engagement, and just help the whole ecosystem to grow. I think there's actually I believe there's actually a ton of people that are already doing that, and I guess in a way myself, being one of them, with BNS. But I do also believe as well, as I mentioned in my DM, that there just needs to be a little bit more, maybe like recognition, perhaps from the Stacks Foundation, or maybe involvement from the Stacks Foundation. That there are these individuals that are putting a hell of a lot of time, effort, and energy, into engaging the community and building the community. And there's there's very, I feel like there's very little in regards to recognition, and secondly, there's extremely very little in regards to compensation. And for an organization, for a foundation that's received $150 million in funding, and then obviously we have this amazing DeGrants initiative that Hero is running. I mean, Hero's worth, I mean, I've told him this, he's worth his weight in gold to the Stacks community. I mean, he's just he's just a powerhouse, and he's just on it. He's absolutely on it, and he's done so much for the Stacks community and the Stacks ecosystem. He definitely needs a pay rise. I don't know how much Stacks Foundation are paying him, but he needs a pay rise. But but the DeGrants, I did say this to Hero the other day. The DeGrant itself it equates to 0.05% of Stacks Foundation's total funding, which is 150 mil. So 0.05%. Like, we're not even talking 0.1%. That is 0.1%. We're not talking 1% here. We're talking like the decimal places.
Where did you get the percentage from, by the way? Because I don't even know.
Well, it's just 50. It's 50 grand. $50,000 is 0.05% of $150 million. That's where I got it from. But obviously, it helps massively. It still helps massively. But the point that I'm getting at here is that the community, I think, is the community and some amazing people like yourself, Hero, like Good Kitty, like Haddy, a little bit undervalued. And I think Stacks Foundation kind of needs to pull their finger out and recognise all of you guys a little bit more, and compensate you. Well, I mean, obviously, Hero, you're being compensated, but but I mean, there should definitely be more Stacks residences. I believe anyway. But yeah, Hero, could you? I think you mentioned you were going to provide a little bit more on Stacks residences. Are you able to do that in this space? Sorry to put the pressure on you there.
I don't know how much I can talk about it because it's kind of above my pay grade kind of situation.
Oh, okay.
But to simply put, I think you can look at it from two perspectives. A more pessimistic perspective is they are just not getting the benefit, therefore they are not really like jumping up and down about it. Second perspective, which is a little bit more optimistic perspective, is that we are not doing good enough job to communicate the positive points to them, and until and there's a gap in the communication in terms of what they know and what they think they perceive versus what the community perceive, and there's a massive river in the middle. And how do we get the points across better for them to understand what are the key issues, what are the key sentiments, and how to solve that. So so therefore, the current situation is more like the first scenario. No, I wouldn't want to call it which scenario, but it's just they're not getting it, and they are not putting it behind because their top priorities is always to do with technical stuff. It's always to do with infrastructure stuff, and you see that in the critical bounties as well. And their priorities is very much dynamic sometimes, but dynamically around technical stuff. So these governance stuff don't get really the light in there. And foundations currently is much more about marketing, about SBTC, about partnership. So I would say governance is not really exactly on the top of their minds, such as DeGrants, and that's why you don't see the type of recognition that we all think we want. So that's the current state of things. We can go the second route where we help them to understand what are the gaps, to try and convince them to get them on board, which they might start paying attention and putting more money behind it. And that's why I started uh, and haven't finished it, is the impact report. If we're able to generate a better impact report, that might help them to see the lights, so to speak. But it is an uphill battle because I wish they had been the one that come to us and say, how can we help you? How can we be more supportive, like more proactive approach coming to us? But it's a very much a reactive approach situation right now where we have to prove ourselves with all the metrics that we got in the arsenals. Whereas any other stuff, that initiatives that they can just unilaterally decide without coming up the metrics that we've been asked for. So that's the situation. That's the details, if you like. The TLDR is it's hard, basically.
Yeah, I got my calculations wrong. The D grant is 0.03% of Stacks Foundation total funding. Sorry. um, but
I mean, critical bounties, I don't know how much they allocated, but I don't think if you add all the numbers up, I think in the GitHub, I don't think it amounts to anywhere near 1 million. So if critical bounties, let's say 500,000, we currently account for about 10% of that grants, total grants. So Sachs Foundation this year or this quarter isn't running like a huge grant program. Rootstock is running a 2.5 million, I believe. I don't know for how long period, but I believe there will be further critical bounties this year. So in a total fiscal year, I don't know, could be more than 1 million budget, and let's say D grants 25K plus 50K in a fiscal year 75. That's where we are. We don't know whether there will be three, but that's roughly the figures to give you guys.
okay. Um,
do you think
Yeah,
about what I was just speaking about, Hero and Hattie?
yeah. Hero, can you do you have any thoughts on what Good Kitty has proposed?
I would love to hear from others, but I definitely have my own thoughts as well. If anybody want to go first, I don't know if Dan's heard anything. Would love to hear additional thoughts before I share my thoughts.
No, I have nothing right now.
Dan did.
So my thought, Hadi, do you
Oh
have
yeah,
any?
Paddy, go for it.
Oh, I'm happy to go. Yeah, I read through the document. It's a role that's needed, or somebody needs to take ownership because I felt the lack of continuity. Not that it was a bad thing; it was just that the engine had to start again, and it would be preferential that we don't have to restart the engine every cohort, and it'd be nice that there's a continuity. Um, and as far as the governance, to have one person at least overseeing everything that it transitions, because people may come in and go out. But if we have a structure and somebody in place, it definitely will help. So I'm all for it.
Brill, good. Dan, did you ever apply for a critical bounty?
I'm not sure if I had done so early. Um, Not that I remember.
Okay. Yeah.
But I spent some time as a Stax resident, similar to Hero. So in the early days of the first Boom wallet, I was working on the Boombox protocol, and so I spent a lot of time doing that.
Oh, I see. Okay. Okay. Yeah.
So maybe I'll give my quick, I don't know how quick, but about Kokiri's proposal. TLDR is I'm supportive of continuity because what we've seen, if I just look back over the past 2 years, what has worked is more consistency. So I like the consistency part. I think that element is important to keep the existing people together and also allow new people to come in. So I personally value Twitter Spaces. I know not everybody values that, but I do think Twitter Spaces not only serve for somebody new to come in, but we can actually discuss ecosystem needs in details rather than everybody don't have a place to gather and discuss. And it's really when we discuss in detail, we really surface the, we come up with 10 ideas and we narrow down to one or two. And I think that's the value of these Twitter spaces. Not because it generates a lot of ideas, is that it really filters down to less than ideas at the end. And I think that's a good thing because we will stop wasting money and we get people collaborate. So I like it. Whoever runs it, and obviously, I think Good Kitty is a great person to put herself forward for that. Um, I I I do think um, I do think if we can leverage scalable stuff like AI into the mix, uh, so that it becomes less manual in some elements of the process, would be interesting to see into the proposal. Because now AI can do several things. So I think that's one element I'd like to sort of chip in. And perhaps another element would be to making sure, like, for example, in the BNS group, having awareness of BNS group is creating an actionable action group out of that, and BNS action group on a subset of that could involve community amplifications or community engagement initiatives such as giveaways and buildings. So if Good Kitty were to take on that role, I think there's a lot of crossover, such as like the Wales community is doing. I think by collaborating with each other, and maybe you were saying about ambassadorship or some kind. I think there are places where you can leverage each other's power. um that's what I would say. Just, and then maybe it's not outside of BNS, right? You might start having like community governance subset groups that you can work collaborate with. Maybe there will be an action group coming out of each branch of the tracks. And developer is a good thing to get focus on as well in some ways, because uh, currently a lot of developers are working in isolation. And I think that's also we have a lot of good materials, but a lot of them work isolatedly. And I think that's the second point or third point. And another point is, what we kind of found is a lot of founders like Dan and others, like they really need some extra support in the super earliest stage of the journey. So if, as a community, whether we talk about DeGrants or not, forget about DeGrants. This is just going to be a community building, uh, almost becoming a true powerful decentralized community. That we also need to look after these founders to make sure they can succeed uh, with the right resources, without initial capital in mind, because a lot of these earlier ideas, they are great, but they just don't have the money there at the beginning, and they tend to think like they just have to work on their own. But really, if we can constantly create a pool of talents to plug into each other, then these founder can suddenly have almost free resources somehow being supported in other means to help these founders, because these founders are the one to really create meaningful, usable product on a daily basis for the community. So I see a focus on founder is actually pretty key to this community building, alongside building community, if you like. So that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, I mean, I think spaces are great for public discourse. For everyone to be involved in conversations, and to so obviously generate new ideas, but to also have sort of relatively sort of honest discussions about things as well. I think that's really, really important. And I would quite like to see, personally, I guess more of the guys from TM, from here I started laughing, from 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 TM, from the Stacks Foundation, various guys on spaces, so that there's a more direct connection with the community. Because obviously we can all sort of, as a community, we could all discuss things publicly and and together, and deep dive into all sorts of different topics as well. But I do think the guys representing these organizations also need to be joining these spaces as and when they can. Obviously they can't be joining the hundreds of spaces that are going on at any time during the day, but the most important, crucial spaces, even I would say, even like these DeGrants spaces, because we discuss all sorts of things in these spaces, and also, and it's not necessarily specific about the specific tracks. I mean, we've thus far in this space, we've maybe covered BNS like 40% 40% of the time. The other 60% has been, kind of along the lines of, I guess, maybe general sort of governance, thoughts about sort of foundation funding, that sort of thing. I think I think it would just be great to have a little bit more involvement from those guys, and for them to want to be involved, and to want to get stuck in with the community, and and hear the community's thoughts, the users' thoughts, which is essentially what we are as well. We're the users of the blockchain. Sorry, Dan.
I just want to say that we've been having this. We've been requesting this kind of thing ever since I've been around. Like, it's always been a desire for us to, or a need, or a missing element, that those bigger groups be more participative. And I don't know, after 4 or 5 years, maybe I'm just jaded. I've kind of given up. Like, I don't know that that's going to happen.
Hey, Rim, do you want to comment on that?
Yeah, I would agree with Dan. I think there's no point trying to beg for that. I think what we need right now, and the only sustainable solution, is to grow ourselves so that we are noticeable. Um, and therefore, like, other people, not just Stacks Foundation, just, they will have to take into account of community sentiment, because we are a huge community. So that's probably how I would go about it, how I would think about this thing, personally, because otherwise we're just almost like getting rejected, like, trying to go after a girl. And I don't like to keep getting disappointed, even, maybe
You're
one
talking from
day you will get
experience there, Eric.
accepted. But
Okay, yeah, sorry, Dan, a little bit off
Yeah.
topic there.
I think there's maybe an opportunity that we're not pursuing here, to be talking to founders that have been funded, so that we're not just looking at the Stacks Foundation, which is probably what they want ultimately, right? Like, we should be going and talking to John about, hey, can you fund $5,000 a year to start off with, or something like that. Not just John, but other, block, block, what's the block survey? Those folks. If we can get other companies, smaller founders, to even like start off with $5,000 a year, then maybe we start building this up a little bit more organically and completely outside of the foundation's control, and try and build it up from there. Right? Like I would love to get to the point where I'm able to help fund something like this too. And I think there are others in the community who would be willing to do that as well. Um, Maybe something that we can talk to. Another idea is like the Bitcoin Startup Lab and Bitcoin Frontier Foundation. Like, let those people know that, hey, we're here, and we're also, you know, um, a mechanism that you guys can use to help spread the message within the community, but also, help grow the community as well.
I think I just
Yes,
want to echo
good
with
points.
everyone is that we need to be so good that we can't be ignored. So whether that's what Dan said about other people wanting to collaborate with us and work with us, and Dan, thank you very much for your support. That at a future date you'll support DeGrants and the community. But I think we need to be so good that nobody can ignore us, and I think that's what we need to aim for.
Yeah, totally, definitely. Yeah, I can see where you're coming from, Dan. With regards to the Stacks Foundation, and yeah, there, I do believe though that there needs to be sort of a change, like a little bit of a pivot, though, because they do need to be a little bit more involved in these community discussions. I believe, really, because like I say, we're the end users, so it doesn't make sense for them to just kind of just sort of completely ignore these conversations. So
Yeah, I mean the trouble is like, however long we've been wanting that hasn't happened. I don't know why just by talking the same comments for another 2 years gonna make that happen. I just rather than building other people's product, why don't you just build our own product? And then, like Hattie said, if it's so good, then it can't be ignored, and it makes sense for everybody for them to join. So I'm more like on the Hattie's camp, just to grow. That we cannot be ignored.
yeah,
But I do want to just double check if anybody has BNS application. I'm just a little bit aware, like this might be our last BNS space before the application close.
I haven't submitted mine, but did I mention out here that I'm going to do that today? I don't remember where I mentioned that. Sorry.
What are you doing? Sorry, again?
I have my
I forgot.
application complete. I haven't submitted it, but I will submit it today. I don't know if I mentioned that here already. I mentioned it somewhere.
What is it about? Sorry,
The BNS
Wellness.
grant request.
Oh, for payment stuff, is it?
For payments for basically BNS growth, I put some details in there about growth. There's some work on the subdomain registrar that needs to happen, and that would be part of it too. So the subdomain registrar, for those of you who are not familiar, if you own like NFT.btc, which is for sale, by the way, if you own NFT.btc, you can actually create names underneath that name, subdomains within that name. So I could hand out like herogamer.nft.btc or hattie.nft.btc or dan.nft.cbc, whatever, right? Those are much, much cheaper than the regular BNS names. Usually they're done in like a block of registrations all at once because you don't want to create a transaction for every name, right? But you could bundle like 50 at a time into one transaction. So the process is much, much cheaper. The subdomain registrar basically hasn't been touched in 2 years, so there's a little bit of work to make that ready for Nakamoto. I'll be taking that on as part of the BNS grant, in addition to some specific goals to like increase the number of active BNS names, not just names that have been squatted and are sitting out in Gamma for sale, but active name usage. Um, so that's part of the grant that I'll be submitting today.
Looking forward to it, Dan.
So could you explain like how would I post Nakamoto world? What could you walk me like through the user flow of somebody been benefiting from your thing? Like would they go to like a DAO and then the DAO would have Hero Gamer subdomain, or could you walk me through a little bit the process
I can tell
by
you how it's going to
tidying
work
system?
with like the Boom Wallet, right? So users who do not have a name, new users, again, we're targeting people. This is more of a Bitcoin payment wallet than a Stacks thing. So a lot of users are not going to have names. I have a couple of domains, boom.btc and I think boom.app. So my thought is to just by default give everybody a boom.app name, and I'll have other names that they can choose from as well. But basically, as part of the onboarding, you'll get a name. That obviously simplifies discovery and access, also for merchants. So if you're going to be setting up a shop, you probably want a name so that your shop is easily located, found, discovered. And so basically, as part of the onboarding, this isn't there right now because like I said, I need to do some subdomain registrar work. But you're going to get a key generated, and then you're going to be able to select a name. So just like you would do in any kind of Web 2 app where you select a username, you pick a username. We check to see if it's available. If not, if so, you get that name, and it'll be like I said, like hero.boom.app, or like I said, I've got some others that we could use as well. Um, And so it's just a way of like easily assigning that identity to somebody or to a merchant, so that it makes it easier for people to get a name, so that we don't have to like send them to btc.us website, have them use 2 5 stacks, whatever the purchase price is these days, to get a name outside of the onboarding process, right? And so anybody who's creating a new app could actually use this process to onboard people into BNS a lot easier.
Yeah, and what about, for example, what was I thinking? Um, yeah, so it's almost like signing up, like in a Web2 world. If we didn't have Web3, it's almost like signing up to a website's
Yeah,
account, and you search for your username. Is it available? Whatever characters and stuff.
exactly.
Cool. And why? And isn't Philip doing this? Oh, I thought he's done it.
Philip is
Or is
doing
it a
this a
different
little
guy?
bit. Yeah, he's got ubid.id. I've actually used his system. It's pretty solid. Philip, I would argue, is more focused on DIDs. So he doesn't actually assign a stack's address right away, whereas we're focused on SBTC and BTC usage. So we're focused on like creating that initial stacks account and creating the address. Um, he's got some more like enterprisey type functionality. Like I said, he's more focused on DIDs, and so your data all actually lives as part of a DID record rather than as a stacks account or a BNS name.
So his is almost like more off-chain database, and yours is more like tying to an on-chain address.
Correct. So his doesn't actually create an address or a stacks account by default. It's assigning a name to a DID.
So how does he tie his stuff to
You can
Stacks
you
then?
can you can come in later and put in an address or generate an address. It's just not there by default. Is what I'm saying.
Right. So it's almost like he does storing everything off-chain database, and then later batch all those things and put it on chain in the future at an optional date. Whereas you do that upfront, you seed that into the blockchain first, and then you branch it off that way.
Right. And so DIDs have resolvers, what's called resolvers. Resolvers are off-chain, basically record stores for resolving a DID to an identity or an identity to a DID. Either way.
I don't. Sounds great. Um, I'm just wondering about sort of with Philip's subdomain work. Could he not just easily do this himself in terms of what you're proposing, or is it not quite a? It's not sort of something that can easily be sort of developed and converted from whatever Philip's worked on.
Philip's work is not open source as far as I know. It might be. I haven't actually asked him about that, but I haven't seen the code. But yeah, I mean, he could. It's essentially. I don't want to say the same thing. He's focused on DIDs, so he is resolving. He is creating. He is registering usernames with subdomains. And so it's the same process at that level, but he's creating a DID and then putting that name into the DID, if that makes any sense. But yeah, that at the actually the subdomain level, it's the same process.
Hero, are you? I don't know whether my app's glitching a little bit, but it looks like you're speaking at the moment, but you're not. Yeah, it sounds really cool, Dan. Okay, very interesting.
So it's almost like you have Lightning Network, like that's the subdomain infrastructure, and you are doing an implementation of LND, and he does a different implementation, but all like interpreting how the Lightning could scale.
Again, he doesn't assign an address right away, so maybe it's similar if that helps you. Like the intention of just having a generic subdomain registrar, again, is that all apps could use their own implementation, their own subdomains, and just assign usernames into their apps more easily. Philip's process does not assign a Stacks address by default, or a Bitcoin address for that matter, any type of address by default. It's an identity thing. It's more a mapping Web3 names to Web2 applications kind of thing. You can, obviously, like I said, you can add those addresses, but it's not there by default. And what we're trying to do is just add that on board into the Stacks ecosystem, into the SBTC ecosystem, to kind of grow the Bitcoin economy. Whereas he's more trying to map Web3 names to Web2 applications.
Yeah. I mean, I guess he could effectively just, because I'm sure Philip's got some proficiency and clarity, so I'd imagine he would be able to assign a Stacks address to a new subdomain. But yeah, it sounds pretty cool though. I'm just kind of, I think as well, I think it'd be interesting to sort of discern kind of like, I guess, the value add for BNS. I think that's something that's pretty important for any application really. What would you say the sort of the value add for the BNS community is?
Well, in my mind, the value add is actually creating use cases for the names. Right now, I don't know if anybody can argue that most of the names are just speculation, right? A bunch of people went out and reserved a bunch of names that are just sitting there not being used. We're integrating BNS named directly into the payment specification, and we're increasing the usage of BNS names across not just users but also across smart contracts and, like I said, merchants. So we're expanding the usage of BNS names. Again, I've got some metrics in the smart contract on what some targets that I want to hit for actually increasing usage of BNS names, not just registered BNS names, if that makes any sense. And so, yeah, that's the main kind of value add that I see. Again, this is a question I asked in the past. Like, a lot of BNS usage is just name resolution, right? So it's resolving a name to an address, and that's 99.9% of what you're doing with BNS. The question is, right now, we've got a bunch of names that are registered. That's all great, and a little bit of a marketplace because people are speculating, but there's not a lot of usage. And so, how do we increase basically the main use case of name resolution? Well, we assign it to new things. We start using names for smart contracts. We start using names for shops, and hopefully increase the value that way. Kind of like give them a real use case other than just speculation.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No. Fair point. I mean, I think with all Web3 name systems, there isn't really much utility at this stage. But yeah, with BNS, there isn't, like, there's sort of next to none, I guess, other than speculation, and obviously being able to send and receive stacks in Bitcoin. Well, in particular using Leather Wallet. I don't think Xverse has implemented that yet. But obviously as more dApps are built within the ecosystem, and when we have a RESTful API, I think it's going to be really, really important in connecting BNS names to dApps.
What is the RESTful API? I still don't get that. I asked the other guy who was creating, who said he was going to create the RESTful API, but I still don't understand what the RESTful API is going to do.
Yeah.
We have a REST API for name resolution, and again, I admit, like maybe I lack imagination here, because somebody's going to come along with another use case that I've never thought of. But I'm curious what the REST API is, that what it does that we don't have today.
Yeah, well, you're asking that question to the wrong person, really, because like I'm totally not technical, but I just know from the two previous people that we had in the spaces that are no longer with us. A RESTful API was, well, to them it was apparently a pretty important thing that BNS kind of needed and doesn't have sort of a dedicated API. So, but yeah, like I say, I'm not technical, so I can't really go into the ins and outs of that. Maybe, I don't know, maybe one of the other guys can talk about that. I don't know.
I think it's ultimately, if I remember on the ENS side, Dan, it's essentially a way for developers to like build stuff without having to directly interact with the chain. So when you talk about like Ethereum, right? Yeah, there was an issue with like gas fees. So like, there's, I think it's something to the extent of you don't have to interact like you could still build cool shit and use these things, but you don't have to interact directly with the chain, I guess, while building. Like when you query records and shit like that, right? It's a way for people to build without having to execute like a blockchain, without having to like have a what's it called? Like you don't have to have a blockchain transaction every single time you want to like do something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's where I'm confused, because we have that again. Maybe I'm missing like a use case, but like for looking up a name, for registering a name, we have APIs for that. Obviously, registration is it's a REST call, but it's still a blockchain transaction. But name resolution, like looking up a name, doesn't require a blockchain transaction. That's just a REST call, and it's actually coming out of the API cache. Um, and you can like list all of the potential BNS domains currently. You can list all of the names currently. Obviously, that's going to take you a few API requests because it's paginated. But yeah, I mean, like maybe I need to look into the ENS one more and see where the gaps are. Like see what they provide, because maybe there's stuff there that I just, like I said, lack imagination.
Have you like explored the ENS world at all?
Other than to go on to whatever that website was years ago and register a name, not really.
Okay, I mean, I don't know why like you guys would like cause yourself such a headache when literally the blueprint has already been written. Like ENS is the biggest name service out there. Let's just maybe, like, if you guys want, that's a phenomenal. I was in that community for almost 2 years. It's they laid out everything. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, there's certain things that we don't want to incorporate and that are going to be like inherently different. But I don't know. I feel like they've done so much stuff. Like the ENS manager, it's so simple. Sorry, hold on. Sorry about that. Yeah, like when you go to like app.ens.domains, when you go in there, like if you own an ENS address, I guess that was going to be part of my question was, where do we go? Come on, Bubs. Where do we go to, I guess, is there like a manager as of yet right now for BNS? And I'm literally just asking because I actually have no idea. Is there like an actual like manager that we can go into and switch up addresses and have like update records and stuff like that?
Actually, that is a gap. I don't see that as a REST API kind of thing. I see that more as an application, probably REST plus some like a library updates to the existing library. But yeah, this is actually one of the things that we've been complaining about, because the btc.us website, if you go there, you can actually manage and update your name, but that same functionality doesn't exist for any of the other BNS names. Again, that's not doing anything that doesn't exist right now in the APIs, but it is functionality that's missing, and that I see it more as an app thing. But again, maybe that's just semantics.
I don't know. I think you guys can greatly. Yeah, sorry, guys.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that we're exploring with BNS One. So, being able to manage your BNS assets, whether it's registering, renewing, transferring, and bulk, using those features as, in bulk, which you'll be able to do with BNS V2. And then obviously, I think as you sort of mentioned there, Dan, assigning stacks addresses to BNS names and, BTC names, being able to utilize other BNS names as well. That's something that we're hoping to incorporate into the BNS One MVP, which is what myself and Mike have also applied for. Mike, who was previously, or I think he still is actually, a Stacked resident with the foundation. So, yeah, and that's just the start. That's just the MVP. We are hoping to build a complete sort of management tool, basically for BNS. So that is the hope. Because at the moment we've got a bit of a scattergun of different tools, different sort of products. I mean, there is Dots, which covers a lot of different features, but there's also other kind of tools, in terms of registering lots of names, sending stacks to lots of different addresses, and
Yeah, have y'all looked at the BTC.us website?
So BTC.us, that's managed by Trust Machines,
right?
Specifically,
but you can go in there and like register a name, transfer a name, assign a website to a domain, assign a Lightning address, assign a Nostr address. Like that's the management of the thing, right? Maybe there's more functionality that can be added to that, but that also exists in Heroes, I think, or Trust Machines GitHub, an older version of that. So it's open source. Like you could literally just go in and change the BNS lookup, the BNS domain lookup, to offer the same thing for like stacks dot stx or dot megapont or whatever the other names are that are out there. That is open source. That is out there if y'all are interested.
Well, we've actually forked Dots. So Hank was happy for us to fork Dots, and so we're going to be utilizing that and then building on the Dots sort of application, basically the Dots sort of stack, I guess, that Hank's built.
I don't know if people, maybe you want to talk about your website proposal, Snazzy, because I'm not sure if everybody in the room is aware.
Well, I think Dan's yet to sort of post his application, but it's on there. It's on the DeGrants spreadsheet. But in essence, BNS One is a sort of a complete all-in-one tool product suite for BNS. So it'll enable you to. So with the BNS V2 upgrade, it'll enable you to bulk register, bulk renew, bulk transfer your BNS names, manage all of the different, because we are going to have a multitude in people's wallets. We're going to have the BNS V2 names, we're going to have BNS core names, we're going to have BNSX names. So being able to manage all of those assets, I think is really, really important. I did like a survey. We had about 30 submissions, like a feedback suggestion survey, where people, basically sort of told us what they would like to see in this kind of complete platform application for BNS. So based on obviously this amazing community that we have in the BNS community, as I say, we've got over 2,000 members in the community, over 5,000 followers on the X account. They have, in essence, I guess we're in a maybe slightly fortunate position where we've got our finger on the pulse, and the community have said, look, this is what we would like to see in this complete sort of tool management platform for BNS. So that is hopefully what we're going to be building, and it'll involve in the future, it'll involve sort of making and accepting offers, analytics, various sort of BNS analytics data potentially, maybe even the users' data as well. possibly sort of in-app messaging, so that there can be some degree of negotiation between two parties on their BNS names and the sale and things. So yeah, so there's tons of different plans, and there'll be more consultation with the community, going forward. But the MVP is the starting point. So that's as you've seen here, that's what we're hoping to build. As part of the grant.
Hey, Snazzy, I got a question. So in everything that you mentioned, right? Like, I guess that sounds really like, I think that's super cool. But I didn't hear like the management of your names part. I guess that's what I'm kind of thinking is like a BNS manager, like bulk registration, bulk tools. I feel like that kind of goes to what Dan was saying. It's like we kind of got that speculation market, but like, is there like what there is on btc.us? Like that's what I think of, I think maybe, and maybe that's just like my ENS brain working. But is there anything for like management where like an individual can go in and say, hey, I want to either change the address on this or update the website record for that, or a content record or anything like that?
Yes, yeah, there will be. Yeah, so there'll be what we're referring to as community profiles. So you will be able to sort of go into your profile and you'll be able to manage your all of the different things that you can manage, like as you said in btc.us, and also you can probably manage more, I think, in dots.so. So you'll be able to manage all of that, but the hope is that we will have kind of almost like a sort of maybe kind of like a gamma-like experience where we have kind of community profile where you can actually search for other community members, other BNS community members, and you can look at their BNS names, and maybe there's a name that you really want to buy. You want to make an offer on it. You can search for that particular member or that particular BNS name, and it'll send you straight to their profile, and then you could perhaps make an offer, on that name. There's kind of like there's definitely sort of greater plans to BNS1, but the MVP is going to be really, really important in just kind of creating that first initial sort of complete tool platform for the community, and then we can build on that and really make sort of really utilize BNS and its sort of usage in terms of its, I guess, its management and the buying and selling and the speculation. And obviously you're not going to get past that. That's in essence, that's the market. That's the market for Web2 domains, and that's it's the market for Web3 names. The vast majority of it is speculation. And as I was saying earlier, there at present really there isn't a huge amount of utility for Web3 names. We're not just talking about BNS here. We're also talking about ENS, SNS, Solana names, and etc. So, but obviously the future is that there will be more utility. Your Web3 name will be your identity. It will be how you connect to dApps. And yeah, it will be a means of you making payments or transferring or receiving funds. So it's going to have multiple use cases far beyond Web2 domains. So yeah.
Got it. Okay. Is there like I'm assuming the answer is no, right? But like from an adoption standpoint, right now, which wallets actually recognize like BNS names? It's Xverse, Leather. Does it Signa? Well, yeah, I guess it does, right? Because it's made up of it's just a multi-sig. And are there any other like Stacks addresses that recognize BNS names?
Boom Wallet did, and the current version does. The new version does as well.
Of Boom? I got to look up Boom Wallet. I've never really actually looked into Boom Wallet. That's interesting.
Well,
Okay.
I haven't released the V2 yet, but yeah.
Oh, that's you. Oh, okay, got it. So,
sorry, I was speaking then, and I realised that my mic wasn't on. Yeah, so Leather is the only one currently that you can send and receive Bitcoin to. using your BNS name. On Xverse, you can send and receive stacks, I believe, using your BNS name, but not Bitcoin. And I've never even tried it actually. I don't even think there's been a question in the community, but I'm pretty sure you could send and receive any meme coin to your Stacks address, because obviously it's part of your Stacks address, isn't it? Yeah, Xverse. Again, I'm not technical, but they've got some sort of technical issues or something or other, which they haven't kind of prioritized, which has meant that at the moment you can't send and receive Bitcoin to your BNS name via Xverse, which is a shame. But I did speak to Ken, and the community has been on his case a little bit, but I don't think, in terms of their roadmap, I don't think it's a high priority for them at the moment. So but hopefully soon, hopefully BNS V2 will make things easier. That's the hope, is that it will make things easier for wallet providers. So yeah.
Cool. Thank you. So, is it not too late to ask a question, or are you guys ending right now?
Yeah, of course. Go for it, Dave. Yeah, we've got another hour yet. I mean, Hero's not happy until we've done 2 hours.
Okay, cool. So I started filling out my application yesterday, and I guess my question is, what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna make a small ask, because I feel like I really do fall into a lot of different buckets, but the BNS bucket specifically is probably gonna come at some point. Probably not in this first version, probably in a version maybe in the next iteration. So I'm just curious, do I still apply to you guys, because the plan is obviously for BNS. I was actually just talking with my developers yesterday about what the best tool to use is, because we're gonna build something where I want some sort of manageable CMS, right? I don't want to have to go to them to have to make any sort of change or anything like that. So we're looking up different headless CMSs and figuring out which best one to use. And it doesn't seem like there's a lot of, I guess, resources, I want to say, and I don't mean money. I just mean for which wallet integration you want to use. You know what I mean? So how would you guys prefer that do I request from BNS if it is in my plans 100%, but it doesn't come out in the first version, Hero? Or do I just hold off to the next DeGrants? What do you suggest?
Can I answer? I say do it now, because we can't guarantee there's the next DeGrants.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. Got it. Understood.
Yeah,
thanks, Dan.
I agree, but there will be. There'll be a DeGrants 3 for sure. Hopefully it'll be 100k next time. Hopefully 0.06% next time. Yeah, that's my hope. Hero.
I'm not.
No pressure.
You said that, Snazzy. I'm not taking any of your. I'm not liable for your words. I'm definitely not promising anything at all. I'd rather, yeah. That's just not what I would do myself. But feel free to speculate.
Yeah, I'll speak for Hero. So yeah, it'll be $100,000 next year. So I'm not on Stacks Foundation's payroll, so I can say anything. But yeah, yeah, 100k next year, Dave. So, but yeah, no, feel free to get your application in this DeGrants for sure.
Okay, cool. I appreciate it, guys. Thank you. So the yacht request is not going to be not for this year. We'll save it for the $100,000 one.
Yeah, save that for next year.
When Stacks hits $100, we've got a chance.
Yeah, when Stacks.
So you're saying that Stacks will definitely hit $100, Hero? Is that what I got you on record as saying? Okay,
Yeah.
understood. Got it.
When Stacks hits $100, Hero's giving us $50,000 each. That's what Hero told me.
You get a boat. You get a boat. You get a yacht. It's like Oprah out here, Hero.
For all intents and purposes, you were talking about 1 hour or 2 hours. I actually prefer 1 hour, Snazzy. So if you want to close it out, I'm very happy to. But I just want to hear as many application in public as possible, because it gives people the chance to ask questions, to understand it. Because what we found in the past is that things on paper is difficult to digest, and it's just much quicker to ask the applicant to about their proposal live on stage, and it helps the review as well and gives the context as well.
So
And people
I
don't
guess
read.
so guys, I guess I would say right now, like my biggest thing is there, like, because when I look at, right, like security, when people want to like sign in, and when I look, and again, I'm always just going to make these comparisons just because what I know, when you have something like sign in with Ethereum, right, where it's like, hey, you connect to the website, but then it's also you have to take that extra step obviously to sign that transaction. So now it's like, okay, cool, now you've actually signed in, you're secure, right? There is that additional transaction. So I just don't know enough about how built out BNS is to where does something like sign in with Ethereum or sign in with BNS actually exist right now? Like to where like you think I should be prioritizing it like for my website?
No, it doesn't exist as far as I'm aware. But it needs to,
Okay.
because I mean, like, kind of that's sort of part of the whole premise, really, of of Web3 names and having your own wallet, and you being the custodian of of your wallet, your name, and your funds. So yeah, so yeah, go ahead if that's
Yeah.
your plan.
It's literally just it's essentially like what you're doing is you're saying, hey, yes, these I attest that like these are my keys and I am in possession of my keys of said wallet. Yeah, I think it's a super like I think signing with Ethereum is such a super small piece of code, but I generally don't know like the infrastructure that goes on in the background that needs to be that needs to be built prior. So yeah, I don't want to talk out of the side of my face.
Yeah, well, that's the future, right? Um, in the future, the hope is that you will be able to sign into apps and dApps using your Web3 name. So instead of connecting with Google or Facebook, you'll be able to connect with your BNS name, with your Leather wallet or Xpert wallet or MetaMask wallet. So that's the hope. That's kind of maybe not the end goal, but that's like a really big goal for Web3 names, and and sort of user identity and ownership of their identity and their data, and yeah.
Yes, Snazzy, that's it, right? Like that was the biggest topic of conversation between me and my developer team was like, how do you want these people to sign in? And when he mentioned to me, he's like, we could do Twitter, Google, Facebook, blah, blah. And I'm just like, yeah, but like, I want them to have that like I want them to have the full experience of the site, but like there's just not enough built on. Like when you were connect your say Xsource or Leather, they're not going to get the same experience as the person that does sign in with Google. You create the account, and then it's like, okay, cool. It's a very different experience where it's just like signing in with your wallet and your Web3 name. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, sorry, and my bad, Blockface. I wasn't looking at my phone. Please go ahead.
Yeah, very true. Yeah, Blockface, please go ahead.
Sorry about that. I just noticed some comments in the hill below. I wonder if any of those comments were relevant to the discussion.
Anyone in specific you're referring to?
Yeah. Anything specific, Blockface? Or are you talking about the sort of comments on the spaces?
Yes, I think there's one comment from Cindy below.
Oh, look. Step 1 of pitching: remove neediness. I have no idea what she's talking about, to be honest.
It's probably irrelevant then.
Okay. If you're happy with table scraps, you'll salivate after drippings. Okay. Great.
I think the main point is that the reason that developers don't know what to do is because no businesses have been built around any of this. And I think if developers are going to get clarity pre-Nakamoto, it's not in writing smart contracts that are going to change. It's on building businesses that fund this instead of asking people for pennies of $150 million. But I'm probably wrong.
Hero?
Am I an asshole for saying that?
No.
Right.
I just feel like you've been waiting to say that
Jesus
for a minute.
Christ.
Like,
What are we doing?
Are
Shoot me in
we-
the head already. Let's make some money, and then the right people will fund this.
Hero, do you want to comment on that?
Can I show my space before we go? I'll be speaking at BitFlow's space in 40 or 39 minutes. Flip BitFlow. I forget what the name of their space is anyway. I'll be speaking
Yeah,
about
feel free to share it, Dan. Paddy, you might need to add it to the top. I don't know how to do that.
So oh, okay. So we're done.
building on Bitcoin. Yeah, it's BitFlow's building on Bitcoin. Coming up in, like I said, 39 minutes.
I'll put it to the next feed, Dan.
So Snazzy, what I'll do is I'll once Friday's submission closes, I'm gonna tidy up the spreadsheet a little bit, and then allow on the right hand side what we did last time where people can rate. So I'll get that ready for next Monday. So people can start picking in from Monday, and we can discuss on a space and maybe rate everything together or some kind, or just async. So that's a plan for next week, and hopefully the applicants, I will encourage the applicant to be present as well, because then you'll hear all the public comments. Like, then none of this is hidden behind the curtain. We only talk logistic stuff in DM just because we have to, but for the feedback, for what we are thinking, how the decisions are made, everything is fully transparent. You can even see all the applications. So that's how we tend to run these DGrants, and that's one of our philosophies, to be transparent. And if there's any feedback, I think Good Kitty has a different feedback system. So I'm keen to learn from her how she does it. So maybe then we can use that across new tracks in the futures. But in going by what we have right now, we will just have another Twitter Spaces next week for BNS, discuss everything public. Any applicants want to come and show, answer questions, that'll be great, because then we can answer. We don't have to just look at words. Yeah. Anyways, that's it from me.
Yeah, sounds good. Sounds good. Cool. Okay then. Well, I mean, if everyone's happy, we can adjourn the spaces. But yeah, it was great. It was a great discussion. Great to talk about
Do you want to
everything and BNS.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about the BNS Action Group? I know you have some thoughts, and yeah, maybe because I think this is almost like outside DGrants. It's just some needs that we need as a community, but then it's not really. It doesn't fall into DGrant, but care now about the DGrants conversation, and maybe that can go in conjunction with everything that's going on in the BNS space.
Yeah, sure. So the BNS Action Group. So we have had a BNS working group and that was public last year, and then it kind of very slowly kind of went private because we do have quite a centralized entity involved, Trust Machines. So understandably, there are certain things that are quite sensitive. So I think really kind of what has sort of arisen over the last few weeks is that we need, in addition to spaces, we need maybe a more public, but also a more open. And
I think you might be covering your mic.
Oh, really? Oh, sorry. We need a sort of a more open space where we can, in addition to obviously X spaces, where we can discuss BNS and we can discuss developments on BNS and what people are working on, and what we need to do in order to to grow and expand BNS's reach, because BNS is incredibly important to the Stacks ecosystem, and it helps to onboard new users. It's one of the first interactions that people have when they join the Stacks ecosystem. So the BNS action group is something that has kind of been sort of formulated over this last week, and I think it's going to be potentially via an existing group. I don't know if you've messaged me back, Hero, but potentially via an existing group that we have, or a new group, a new sort of DM group on X, on Twitter. And yeah, it's and then we just go from there, and we will organise sort of I'm hoping bi-weekly. It could be weekly, but I think probably bi-weekly is necessary. Bi-weekly Google Meets calls, and then we can record them as well. We can they can be made public on YouTube, which is obviously what has been stopped this year with the working group calls. Although the working group calls have been very irregular this year, which is not great, because we're a little bit in the dark as to what Trust Machines is doing and what they're working on and their progress with BNS V2. But yeah, so that's the plan. Is the BNS Action Group. Dan, I think we follow each other on X. I'm not too sure. So yeah, I'll add you to that DM group, Dan. Dave, are you up for joining?
For meeting regularly for what, a BNS working group?
Yes, it's essentially like a BNS working group, but we've called it BNS Action Group because we just want to sort of we just want to make sure that we're taking action.
I don't want to say 100% yes because of scheduling, just so I can let's talk in the DMs, and
yes,
if my schedule allows, yeah, for sure, 100%, I'd totally be down.
It will. I mean, because the spaces are every Wednesday or at 5 p.m. UTC, it'll essentially either be, I guess, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, or Friday at 5 p.m. UTC, which is sort of ideal for me because that's when I've finished work essentially. But it's also fairly good for you guys in the US because I think it's 1 p.m. Eastern time and Pacific time. I think it's 10 a.m. or something at the moment. 10 or 11. Okay.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, let me know what day you decide, and yeah, I'm in.
And yeah, and if anyone else listening is interested in joining or listening to the spaces and is interested in joining the BNS Action Group, and I will sort of put a little bit of a call out there as well in the BNS Discord. But yeah, if anyone listening is interested, feel free to just sort of tweet me, DM me, and yeah, and we'll get the ball rolling, and we're going to make BNS great again. That's right. Okay, cool. Okay, well, if everyone's good, we will adjourn the meeting. the spaces, and I will speak to all of you guys soon, and next Wednesday, of course. All right, don't forget to get your applications in, guys. Dan and Dave. Real. Okay, guys. Cheers.